and start to make your way and connect in. We are here for 60 minutes slow flow yoga. I'm Jen. Thanks for joining me live. If you're joining on demand, so good to have you all here. Yoga blocks are light dumbbells. I'm actually going to use my blocks during kind of an entire little grounded sequence, just to be able to gauge hip range of motion, spine without accidentally going too far without blocks. So that's going to be a suggestion. Yoga strap or a band for some hamstring work at the end. It's just, again, an idea. You can always connect and take stretches with the support of your hands. And then maybe a blanket or a pillow. I'm going to use mine to help support legs in a twist at the end and maybe to rest my head on as we take some stretches lying on our side. Mercedes, great to see you. I'm going to go ahead and press play on some music. We'll connect in. Do you just sort of feel ever that anticipation of my mat is there? I'm coming. I get to be on my mat. Taking your time to arrive, feel into your body. Maybe taking a few of those exhales that maybe they're the kind of exhales that are a little bit more mental or emotional than physical. Kind of using your exhales to maybe just shed some intellectual layers. Maybe it's a running thought that's been happening today. Maybe it's kind of that running to-do list. Anything that you can breathe aside, perhaps temporarily for class. Maybe you realize as we practice, hi Karen, that some of those things you've been able to maybe breathe away can just stay away permanently. Who knows? Giving yourself a little chance to feel, to move, to shift, to breathe. And just a little suggested offering to start. I was exploring this earlier and I found it kind of soothing, and you'll have to let me know what you think. I'm just going to be here lying on my back, feet planted, knees bent, just whatever width kind of feels comfortable to maybe find a brief pause. I'm going to bring my hands up over my chest and interlace the fingers, but then I'm going to turn and rotate so the palms are up toward the ceiling. And then I'm going to actually let kind of the backs of my hands or the fingers land on my forehead. I chose to close my eyes, trying to relax your shoulders away from your neck, and you might kind of feel this little tug of gravity of elbows toward the floor with a little gentle pressure at your third eye space. And make little adjustments if your knuckles are kind of digging into your forehead. You can make some adjustments or skip this altogether. But maybe just feeling that little surrender, that pressure point, letting gravity feel a little space. Letting that, just that tug of gravity, be a place to soften somewhere. And then maybe you join me. I'm actually going to rotate the hands a little bit to bring the palms still interlaced on the top of my head and just kind of give a little press down. Just kind of sealing in goodness, feeling that touch at the top of the head, thanking your brain for all it does, and maybe giving yourself permission to have your brain be here with you in practice. And then as you're ready, arms come down by your sides, maybe just noticing how that felt. Give your legs a little sway. And then I'm going to take a little time to move a bit more through the upper body. I'll reposition myself here. Taking your feet planted again, maybe knees stay bent. I'm going to take my arms wide like a T and start to alternate, sweeping one arm over to kind of cross over the other arm and then switching. So my left arm is reaching over to try to cross over my right, and I'm going to open and then switch. You could kind of sweep them simultaneously. I also really like doing this and dropping my head over to the direction that I'm reaching to get a little movement in the neck. And you might even kind of lift up that opposite shoulder blade slightly to get a little rotation in your upper back. Moving as slow or maybe as kind of paced as you would like. Take a few more rounds. And then when you feel kind of satisfied there, let's shift to the legs. Arms just rest then by your sides. My palms are down. I'm going to lift up the legs and sway side to side. I love to roll my ankles around here, maybe even do a little cracking of the toes. We'll spend some time here so you can just play, experiment, notice. You might make this more of just a massage across your lower back, kind of hip bone to hip bone. You might start to surrender briefly, legs to one side and the other. Acknowledging how all this movement is feeling in your spine and your hips. One more piece if you'd like to. Sometimes I like taking that brief moment where the bottom leg is down and extend the top leg out briefly. So as my legs surrender over to the left, rolling just to let that left knee touch, but then giving a little kick out of the right leg. Just a suggestion, ideas, right? This is your time to explore. Aubrey, it's so great to have you here. And then whenever again you feel ready, take the time that really kind of feels like you're satisfied with those movements you found here. Letting your feet land, knees bent, arms at your sides. I'm going to bring the right knee toward the chest and extend and bend the leg a number of times to move through the knee, to maybe listen to the knee, giving you some dialogue through sound. And then when you feel ready from that leg being fairly straight, I'm going to lower and lift toward the floor a couple of times. I like this because I feel the hamstring, I feel my hip flexor, I also feel my core, just trying to prevent any arching of the back. And I try to really relax my arms here, they tend to grip. And then I'm going to pause at the top, take that right leg, sweep it across to the left. And then as you bring it out to the right, could you bend the knee slightly like a half happy baby? I'll turn back to profile. So kind of sweeping it across, stretching outer thigh, and then a little bend off to the side. And let this organically start to show up. So this doesn't need to be kind of choreography dictated by what suggestions I've given, just kind of play. And then when you're ready, I'm actually going to pause in the center and bring a little hug of the right knee toward the chest using my hands to interlace at shin or back of thigh. Just kind of give it a little squeeze until you feel your hip flexor almost kind of soften or engage. And then right foot down. If you'd like to take a quick little rinse before we explore all of that the other side, eventually the left knee comes toward the chest. Again, extend and bend. Sometimes I like to play with flexing and pointing the foot in different ways here. And then whenever you're feeling ready, we'll start to lower and lift that leg toward the floor. Tommy, so good to see you at a different time of day. That lowering and lifting, again, I tend to kind of draw my low ribs in as my stabilizers, so I'm not swinging my back and trying not to let my arms take over. And then once you're at the top, let's sweep the leg again over to the right. And then as the left leg opens out to the left, I'm going to bend the left knee just a little bit. So it's kind of this little sweep over, crossover, and then a little half happy baby like. And I only introduce those names if that gives you a visual, but don't feel like you need to create a pose or a shape here, just movement. And then as you're ready, I'm going to again pause to kind of level out the hip, draw the left knee toward the chest and give it just a little gentle hug, pressing your left hip to the floor. And then from here, it becomes any other movements that you would like here while you're on your back, and then movements that will start to create a progression to become seated and upright. You might roll over to one side. You might grab the thighs and rock and roll, a little tuck of your chin, using enough momentum and energy of the legs to really be aware of your back. We meet seated when you're ready. So good to see you all. You can be seated facing the front of your mat. I'm going to stay that direction first as well. Let's take the legs out straight, but like soft. And I'm going to lean back right away and press my hands down with my fingertips pointing to my heels. I kind of like that position. See if you can find a little lift of your spine, but let your legs really be fairly relaxed. And we'll do a variation of fish pose, like a little puffer fish. I'm going to try to lift up my ribs a bit toward the ceiling. You might squeeze your elbows closer to behind you. You might even soften into your elbows a little bit. Some of you might enjoy a dropping back of your head. I typically don't like that in my body. It makes my head feel a little dizzy. So I like tucking my chin more like a double chin. So at least my neck is intentionally kind of following the curve of my spine. Take a few more breaths here, using the lift of the backs of your ribs to find space. And then I'm going to come back up. I'm going to bend the knees briefly and just kind of wiggle that out. If you like having the hands behind you for some of those wiggles, or if you want to come up and kind of shake a bit. And then I'm going to turn to face you. I'm going to take my legs straight once again, but out a little wider. I like to flex my feet, toes to the ceiling, and I'm literally just going to rock and hinge at the waist. I'm kind of focusing on that hinge out, just that little bit of a hinge where you start to feel a little stretch in the backs of the hips, maybe the hamstrings, maybe your back, but just kind of treating this almost like a rocking chair, which truly is, I think, my favorite piece of furniture. Don't you just love them? Oh, Karen. That's such a nice, she's rocking with her cat. It's so lovely. And then when you're ready, I'm going to lean back and help the knees bend. And I'm going to take some windshield wiper drops here. And this, again, I'll offer ways where you might continue to explore. I'm starting with like a really big lean back where you almost make that kind of squishy face where you can give a little lift of your hip. As it feels spacious, potentially, I'm going to sit up briefly and actually take a reach across my body. So as my knees surrender over to the left, I'm lifting up my right hip to kind of land. And I love that stretch around. Just because I love it doesn't mean you have to love it. Taking time to just feel and notice, and it might even be just pausing. It doesn't always have to be continuous movement. And then whenever you feel ready, balanced in whatever directions you found, anything else again that you could use while you're sitting. I've been taking a chance every class now to roll my wrists around a little bit, maybe even make a couple of fists and move the fingers, if that also releases any of that stress that's there. And then when you're ready, let's make our way to tabletop pose. No rush. Again, a suggestion. I do have my yoga blocks available. I'm going to use them during our grounded sequence in a bit. So maybe they're within reach. Spreading fingers wide in your tabletop. Maybe you even give yourself a moment to be in tabletop. I think sometimes tabletop is always like a means to an end, but it's a moment, it's a pause, feeling your spine lengthen, your body soften, and then continuing to be, I like to say, a curious observer of your body here, using cows and cats, any other movements of your spine, your hips, your shoulders, your head, your neck. This is one of my favorite parts as well because it's such a great time to tune in. You might even close your eyes and just be willing to listen. We'll take a couple of opportunities today where you can just really move through shapes in ways that your body is saying, yep, that's the way I could use that movement right now. When you're ready, you might just kind of pause and reset in tabletop or come to the forearms, offer to head to the belly. I'm going to walk my hands out. I do really like that low knee plank to start, just to see where my spine is, to feel that little tuck of the low ribs. Squeeze the elbows in as you lower down if you're headed to the belly. And then anything that you'd like to find in terms of the Cobra family, I usually use a little push of my hands. Sometimes I like to float my hands and let this be strengthening for the back. You might, if you push a little higher, you might widen your legs. Try to keep your legs an active partner. Press the tops of the feet down. You could also be on the forearms here, if not on the belly. In your time, let's all connect back to tabletop pose. So if you've been on the belly, I encourage you to take that really thoughtful lift, almost that reverse of a push-up, squeezing up, lifting up with your low ribs. Offer is alternating arm puppy pose. So I'm going to curl my toes under in tabletop. I'm going to stretch my left arm forward and send my hips back away. My right forearm does touch briefly. And then I'm going to bring my left hand back closer and then switch. So sometimes I find this unilateral stretch, kind of one side at a time, to just give me a little bit more information about what I'm feeling in each shoulder, the side of the back. You can certainly take a full puppy pose with both hands forward. Give yourself a few more breaths to maybe even out if you paid attention to left and right. And then when you're ready, we'll meet back in tabletop pose. So as we start this grounded work, this is where I'm going to choose to elevate my hands because we're going to do a step through to a lunge from low. So I like having a little bit of height to provide that space for my body. You do not have to elevate your hands, and dumbbells should work just fine here as well. So tabletop pose, maybe with hands elevated. I'm going to lift my right leg, bend the knee, and open the hip. This can start to be exploration of moving hips in all sorts of directions. I would suggest to maybe start to sweep right knee toward right elbow and then maybe open up again. So I'm going to kind of find this big movement of knee toward elbow and opening up. See if you can keep equal weight in both arms. See if you can keep your spine strong. Let's meet right knee toward right elbow. Give it a little breath. We're going to try to land the right foot in a lunge. I'm going to lean to the left a little bit and bring that foot through and then rise. I always get a little spicy heart rate and hot flash right there. Readjust where the right foot is. Can we start actually in a boxy lunge? So we bring our weight back to kind of stack the body over the left leg, bringing hands to press into your back pockets. Feeling this combination of squeezing the elbows back behind you to open the chest, but keeping your ribs drawn in. So we're not finding pufferfish pose. We're feeling a really straight spine. From here, can you maintain that posture? And maybe you start to reach your arms, just stopping when you feel like you would have to arch your back to bring them higher, right? They don't have to be straight up or behind you, wherever that range of motion for you is. Maybe you keep the arms and then let your hips soften forward again without arching your back. If you'd like to find a back bend, please do. So just trying to give that space of either choosing that heart opener or not, and being really intentional about your spine. Let's bring hands to heart, and I'm just going to shift my hips back and front with a brief lengthening of the right leg, sort of half split-like. If you could use a little moment for the hamstring, please feel free to linger. I'm kind of using this to just give my hips a little quick timeout because we're going to take one more shape from this low crescent lunge. Can we reconnect again in that more kind of forward softening lunge, checking in with your hips, not caving into gravity, but feeling some softness? Where might your left hand go? Mine feels pretty comfortable coming back to my block. It might come to the floor. It might come to your right thigh. Let's open and twist right arm up. So the kind of the play here, and you might soften and explore space in your hips without losing your posture and without having to just dump into that left arm. Notice if your right knee is drifting open. That sometimes happens to me. Try to keep that right knee exactly where it was over the ankle. And then can you rotate to put both hands back down? So mine are going back on my blocks. I'm going to pulse back a couple of times again to eventually kick the right leg through and back long. So the right toes come to the floor. So I'm back in my hand elevated, tabletop with right leg long. From here, maybe you find cow and cat. So we've not really done cow and cat movements from this position. Just kind of see how that feels to complement those movements, maybe with some sensation in your right leg. Now, depending on how your feet are doing, I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to flip my right foot upside down and just put a little pressure on to see how that feels to stretch the top of the foot and the front of the ankle. If you think that feels okay and you want to add a little bit more to that stretch, I'm going to lift up my left knee briefly so I get 2 feet stretching just briefly and then come back down. I have to be really careful because sometimes I think it's going to feel good and then my right leg's like, no, Charlie horse. We don't want that. And then when you feel ready, how about tabletop pose? I'm going to move my blocks out of the way temporarily just to give space for now whatever you could use. Do you want to head back to the belly for some movements? Would another option through cobra variations feel right to your body? Take some time to rinse, to move, to shift in tabletop. Then maybe you opt to come to puppy pose. So we kind of built that single arm puppy pose earlier from tabletop legs, or maybe you want to explore a child's pose. If you do come to child's pose in particular, you might feel a little uneven because we've done so much for just one hip. Take some time to breathe. Just already with the movement that we've found, seeing how it feels to bring your brain to stillness. Notice where there may be urgency that we can soften with a breath. As you're ready, we'll come back to tabletop pose. So that second side of our sequence, again, I'm going to elevate my hands the whole time just to provide that stability, especially because I don't really know how my left hip feels today. Tabletop pose, maybe hands elevated, lifting left leg, let the hip open, maybe some ankle rolls, maybe any sort of exploration. And then that suggestion is to eventually start that sweep of left knee toward left elbow and then coming back to open up the hip. And again, just kind of paying attention. Does your weight shift hand to hand? Does your spine feel like it's moving to accommodate range of motion? And then can we meet with the left knee toward the left elbow? We're going to step to a lunge. I'm going to lean slightly to the right to make a little clearance, lift left hand, land and rise. Lots of words that have to happen instantaneously. You're up in your lunge. Make a few little slight adjustments as needed to draw your weight back. Shoulders over right knee, hands in back pockets. Similarly, finding maybe even a little squeeze of your right glute muscle. You might find a little more space in the hip flexor, the quadricep, drawing your ribs in as you tuck your elbows back. And then while keeping that straight spine, maybe you add the reach again of the arms. You might find there's just a little more space. You can keep your shoulders away from your ears. And then I'm going to soften my hips forward, but try to keep a straight spine. By all means, feel free to find a back bend. It's just being intentional. Sometimes I'm back bending and I'm not really realizing it. So just given the love of the low back there, we want to be really thoughtful. Let's take a reset. So bringing your body, hands to hips, and I'm going to shift my weight back a couple of times, lengthening the left leg. Opportunity to pause and kind of that half split to feel the hamstring. I'm kind of doing it more as a wiggle, just to let my hips take a pause. And then we'll go into that simple twist. So when you're ready, meeting back in your lunge, I'm going to go hands at heart and try to find again that sweet spot where the hips feel softened down. And once you hit that spot, kind of notice where might your right hand go. Maybe it goes to the floor. Maybe it goes to a block. You might even have to raise up a block. Maybe it's to your left thigh. We open and twist left arm to the ceiling. And you can make adjustments. I find as I start to soften in here, I realize kind of where that space is, encouraging you to keep some lightness in your right arm. So feeling a lift of your ribs away from your left thigh. When you're ready, I'm going to rotate to bring both hands back down. They're going to go on my blocks. I'm going to shift my weight again back and front a couple of times to then free up the left foot to send it back long. Toes on the floor. Give yourself some time to maybe shift front to back, and then inviting you to find cow and cat movements. So I'm just kind of pressing those left toes to the ground, and I'm feeling just a little movement in the ankle and the leg as I work these cows and cats. And then again, an exploration maybe for more foot stretching, neutral spine. I'm going to flip the top of my left foot to the floor and just see how that feels. Maybe if that stretch feels really welcome, that you push through the tops of both feet to lift your right knee off the ground just briefly. Ooh, nice. And then when you're ready, bringing yourself back to tabletop pose. Blocks or dumbbells might move. And again, take a flow. Your time to move, flow, rinse, and remembering that it doesn't have to be anything other than stillness. Maybe your body says, yeah, I'm ready for that child's pose. I don't need a cobra. I don't need movement in tabletop. Please don't ever feel like there's pressure that you must find some shapes. And maybe this is the time for child's pose, that you've kind of created that opportunity now where we've worked through the hips and the knees and the ankles. I think my body often appreciates working into child's pose. And we talk about this sometimes, noticing wherever you're landing, trying to not put your body into a pose, but rather creating a space for your body to soften into a shape or a moment. When you're ready, we'll make our way back to tabletop pose. We'll make our way towards standing at the top of the mat. I'm going to set one of my blocks out in front. We'll create our journey to standing that might begin with a downward facing dog. Feel free to curl the toes under and try it on. So like we just talked about, try not to put your body into downward facing dog. Create that opportunity and see how it lands in your body. I like to bend my knees a lot to really get that length of the spine. I love to shake head yes and no. You might realize you prefer to be in puppy pose with knees down. The purpose of those shapes are exactly the same, long spine. Maybe you take a moment to let your legs feel just soft, heavy, not forcing the heels down, but just let them feel a little heavier. When you're ready to move, bend the knees more to look toward the top of the mat. Take your walk, pedaling the heels. You might feel a little stretch. I lift my hands off the ground when I feel like I'm almost there. My back could use that space. Top of mat, feet hip distance. Feel free to make some cow and cat movements. Feel free to keep kind of more of that neutral spine, so chin, heart, hips in line, and you can still hinge at the waist here to find a stretch, but with head more lifted, or you could head to ragdoll. So know that halfway lift doesn't literally have to mean parallel to the floor. It just means I'm maintaining a spine that I would have if I were standing. Take a few more rounds of breath wherever you're feeling that deliciousness. It's been a while since delicious has showed up, but I'm feeling it. When you're ready, we stand. Roll up slow, head last, or root to rise. Can you drive through your heels? We've been playing with that this week as you press through your heels. Feel your legs. Take maybe a freedom breath at the top. Reach up, stretch up. Exhale, hands to heart. You won't need any props for the time being, so maybe just kind of making sure they're off toward the front of your mat. And then from the top of the mat, I'm going to face you briefly. I'm just going to reach my arms up and sway a little bit. You might want to touch your hands, grabbing fingertips, or just kind of sway side to side, keeping some intention in the legs, knees soft, that kind of base of the hips. Can we meet tilted to the right? I'm going to have my arms separate, kind of like I'm holding a sun or a moon. I'm going to put more weight in my left foot and see if I can float the right foot briefly. So kind of this balancing crescent shape. Take a few more rounds of breath, maybe squeezing right obliques. I'm going to tilt back up, step my right foot back, do kind of a cartwheel, right arm forward, then left arm comes up, landing in what kind of feels like reverse triangle. Doesn't matter really where your feet land, but finding one more opportunity for that side bend, shoulder away from the ear, feet strong, knees soft. Let's bring ourselves upright and we'll create warrior two opportunities. So that means you probably are going to have to move the feet around so they feel like they're in a balance beam, left toes facing forward, right foot turned somehow. Give yourself space front to back to start to drop in. And I've been really kind of wiggling around in this shape lately because it's such a reminder that there's just so much happening. The angle of your hips, the angle of your left knee, ideally kind of opening toward the left toes, and hopefully feeling like your right hip is under your right shoulder. When you find that sweet spot, you could go back to hands in back pockets. You could clasp behind your back, any arm variation yours to choose. I'm actually going to take a brief shoulder roll and then reset the arms. What about this moment could feel open for you? What if that was the word that we considered right here? Where might you find some openness, some space, even a more open breath? And then when you're ready, I'm going to lengthen the legs, hands to hips, and I'm just going to hinge like I'm going to try to come into triangle and back up. And the way that you hinge here, you might feel a little brief stretch again in your left hamstring or that left outer hip. I hope you almost have to make like that face of, oh yeah, something's happening there. Whatever you're noticing. And it might even be a little linger of, I'm just gonna, and then we meet tall. Turn all 10 toes fully to the right. I'm gonna bring my legs a little closer, toes out, heels in. We're gonna play with some foot and ankle work in Goddess. So if you have, I know I have some folks with foot injuries, not at all required to do the feet stuff, but you can play kind of in your Goddess shape. If you wanna try the footwork, ankle work with me, I'm gonna drop in to Goddess, not the lowest I can go. I'm going to try to lift both heels, push through the toes to stand, and then drop the heels back down. Then I'm going to reverse. Lift the heels, come into Goddess, heels down, and then stand. Let me try it again. Sit into Goddess, lift both heels, power up, stand, heels down, knees never lock, and then lift heels, sit, heels down, power up. Oh, was that fun? And then how about just squish around in Goddess if you'd like. You could revolve your Goddess. You could go kind of down and up. Sometimes we take that 5-point star in between if it just feels lovely to move up and down. Take a few more rounds of breath where this is just all hips, opening, finding space and breath. And then when you're ready, we'll rise and meet, legs long. I'm going to bring the feet again a little closer and let's turn back to face the front of your mat. Again, with your left foot in front of your right foot, and find a shape here that brings those hips back to neutral. Maybe you're in for high crescent lunge where your back heel is lifted and you want to play into a bend of the knees. Maybe it feels better to plant the right foot fully, so you're doing more of a warrior one variation with the right leg straighter, left knee bent. Just create your space. Could you check back in with your ribs? Are they arching at all? Maybe give that little tuck again. I know, I literally touch mine sometimes. Where are you? Are you sticking out like a puffer fish? I'm gonna go strong and straight here. And then when you're ready, let's just take a little softening in that stance. I'm gonna come on my toes and just kind of, we're going somewhere. Let's get some arms first. I'm gonna face you. Arms out wide. Left arm under right. Hands either on the shoulders or maybe you explore eagle variation. I tend to go into this slow rather than the hi-ya. Just kind of seeing if that little press of left fingertips and right palm feels okay. And then could we add airplane pose with these arms? So you might kind of lean forward and try to power off the right toes. You might step the right foot closer, but we're going to lift and float the right foot behind us. I encourage you to give a little squeeze into your right glute muscle. Really keep the left leg soft. See if you can lift your elbows away from your face. Shoulders away from your ears. Take a few more rounds of breath, focusing maybe on a place to look for a few moments. And then I'm going to unwind the arms as I come up to stand, right foot next to left. I like usually a little gentle twist of my spine after that standing work. Our back was helping us so much. Was that a hi, Ryan? Hi, Ryan. And then when you're ready, we're going to take an intermission in a wide stance fold. You could stay at the top of your mat and bring your feet off of your mat. I'm going to face a long edge partially for visual, and I'm going to bring a block with me. So just a little intermission. So taking a wide stance, toes relatively forward, and softening the knees to maybe kind of swan dive and hinge down to land your hands with some bent knees. And then take some time to just kind of sway and move in your wide fold. I'm going to offer a couple other ideas if you'd like to join me shortly, but just taking some time to feel maybe more of a ragdoll approach in your spine or a little bit of a lift of your heart. Adjust the width of your feet to really find that sweet spot again for your back and your hamstrings to find a really nice partnership. And then suggestion if you want to join me, I'm going to plant hands underneath my chest. I'm using my block. Spine for me is kind of parallel to the floor, and I'm going to bend and extend the legs. And then I'm going to add actually movement in my spine. So I'm going to bend into the knees. And then as I lengthen, I'm going to open and twist to the left and reach my left arm behind me. I'm going to bring it back down, bend the knees. And as I straighten, I'm going to reach my right arm behind me and open and twist to the right. I like that reach behind sometimes. It just kind of creates some length in the spine. You could certainly open the arm toward the ceiling to rotate in that way, or you don't have to be engaging in this at all, but keep that back really strong. So much good work for the back here. When you're ready, let's meet with the knees slightly bent. I'm going to bring the feet closer before standing. So I'm going to go heels in, toes in, almost to hip distance apart. Maybe you head to ragdoll. Maybe you keep more of a halfway lift. Stand when you're ready, just kind of like what we did before. Do you want to roll up slow or reverse swan dive? Press your heels into the floor. Can you feel that energy up the sides of your legs? When you make your way upright, there is no rush. Let's meet back at the top of your mat. So if you did what I did and turned directions, let's head back to the top of the mat. You could certainly take a little mini dance break if you needed to. And then we're going to connect top of the mat, top of the muffin to you. I really could say that every time, but Seinfeld references, sometimes they land, sometimes they don't. Top of your mat, I'm going to face you. Arms reach, we palm tree sway. My husband is a huge Seinfeld fan. He does take my classes sometimes. If I promised him more Seinfeld references, maybe he would take more classes. And then we'll meet in that sway over to the left. Yes, the opposite of what we did before. Maybe you shift your weight to your right foot and float your left foot. And I'm doing a combination of kind of a squeeze into my left oblique to help create that space in right side body. And then I'm going to straighten, send the left leg back with kind of a cartwheel, left arm up, then right arm follows, almost like a reverse triangle. Just let your feet land. Don't worry again about creating a pose. I'm going to face you, but right arm is up again. Just one more opportunity for that side lengthening. So good for the spine. And then as you're ready, we tilt upright and we'll take that repositioning of our feet to create warrior two. Take your time. I find it so interesting when I take classes, an instructor will say, warrior two, and then they like stop talking. What? I could give you a whole lecture on warrior two. How are you just saying warrior two and then nothing else? And then you're all probably thinking, yeah, you say a lot of things. Give yourself a little wiggle of your hips. Again, I like that kind of energizing right knee toward right pinky toe. My knee feels happy about that. And then whatever angle of the hip, I'm going to take, again, a shoulder roll and then kind of set up, maybe hands in back pockets. If you clasped your hands last time, maybe you shift just the digits one over so the other thumb is on top. And again, what if we revisited that word open? What might open up for you here? Even if it's just opening up the way you think about being in this moment or opening up the permission to not think about anything other than warrior two. Take another full breath in, full breath out. I'm going to lengthen the legs, hands on hips, and I'm going to do just that almost triangle, like lean and back up. So my knees are slightly bent, my feet are rooted in, and I am kind of knocking out that left hip toward the back of the room. You might feel a little something in the right hamstring, almost like you're trying to bring your right ear toward your right foot. Did you have that spot where just something went, oh yeah, that's kind of nice. And then I'm going to rise up tall, turn all 10 toes fully to the side again. I'm going to go goddess stance again. The offer this time, I'm actually going to cow and cat with this. So I'm going to bring my hands kind of to the insides of the thighs. I'm going to find a little bit of a heart lift, push the hips open, and then I'm going to round a bit like cat and actually let my legs lengthen. So as I come in kind of cow spine to lift the heart, I'm kind of helping the hips open a little bit more, pressing gently into the thighs. And then my cat is a little tuck and a little softening of the legs. Take a few more rounds here. Again, if there's anything else you could use while we have this opportunity to be in this position, take your time. Eventually we meet standing tall. There is no rush. I'm going to bring my feet again a little bit closer, and then we'll turn back to face the front of your mat, right foot forward, left leg back, to just find an opportunity in a high hip neutral stance. So maybe it's more high crescent lunge where your left heel is off the ground. Both knees can explore any variation of bending that feels lovely. Maybe your left foot goes flat. So then it might be more of a warrior one where your left leg is a little stronger and right knee is bending to create that space in your left hip. Are you puffer fish? Are you strong spine? I know, right? I'm liking the puffer fish. Can you tell? It sort of makes sense in my body. We find those analogies that work. And then just kind of take a little softening because we're going to leave here momentarily, but let's add arms first. Arms out wide. Sweep right arm under left. Hands on shoulders. Maybe eagle arm variation. It might be different on the two sides, by the way. And then the offer is airplane. So again, there might be just that attempt to kind of power off the left leg or to maybe walk it a little closer first. Don't worry about the height of the left foot, but almost feel like you're giving your lower back a hug, that there is literally strength in your back body here. So a little squeeze of your glute. Use energy in the backs of your ribs. Can you simultaneously keep length in your neck, shoulders away from your ears? So many things to think about. Isn't that just delightful? Thinking about you here, your mat, your body, and when you're ready, we rise, unwind, left foot next to right. Do you want to sway? Do you want to march? Do you want to breathe? Do you want to be still? Do that on the ground, right? We pause in a pose. Maybe you pause. We're going to bring our way back down and do a little added on the ground stretchy goodness. So when you're ready, I'm going to put one of my blocks again in front of me, highest setting, just to determine what I need going back down because we've done a lot. Let's rewind. Take a breath up, reach up. Thoughtful hinge. Maybe your spine stays strong, but you hinge at the waist to find a stretch. Maybe you head to ragdoll. You can certainly widen your feet here. I tend to be a big block hugger. I love using my block to just kind of check in with where my back spine is feeling. In your time, when you're ready, tabletop pose. Maybe you bend the knees, lift your chin and heart, and just kind of guide yourself back a limb at a time. I invite you to move away from the top of your mat. So that way from tabletop, you can take any final movements that would serve you here, this moment, this time on your mat. Maybe it takes a little bit of movement in tabletop to kind of figure out what your body might be craving. Listen into that instinct. I hope you can feel empowered by your body knowing we just sometimes have to listen in. Maybe there's cobra variations. Maybe your body could use one more pass in downward facing dog. Perhaps you're really feeling that desire to be in a child's pose. Anything, try it on. If it doesn't feel right, you don't have to stay. You're not stuck. Maybe you take some time to even just sit and breathe. Take the time you need to continue any other movements that are kind of rinsing things out. Maybe taking that time, if you did find stillness, to see if you can stay just a little longer, noticing that urgency of your body or brain to say, I probably should move. Can you fight that? Let it land. And then as you're ready, we'll come up and through tabletop pose. I'm just going to drop to a hip and come to sit briefly. So we'll play from side lying to find maybe a quadricep stretch, and we might then surrender that into kind of a lower back and then even a little twist variation. So suggested prop might be a pillow or a blanket just for resting your head. Kind of depends on the surface you're under or just if that feels desirable to you. Let's start by laying on our left side. And you can come down. Your left bottom leg can be slightly bent. You might kind of just rest your head on your hand. You might lay on that pillow or a combination of both. And then I'm going to start actually by bringing the right knee kind of toward my chest, almost like a sideline wind releasing hug. And then you just start to explore. So some of you might be able to slide the hand toward your ankle or foot and actually sweep kind of the foot board behind you. I like coming into that quadricep stretch in this way because when we're standing, there really isn't a great in-between. But here, right, you can just kind of be in any little squeeze and rinse of that bent knee. And again, left leg can be as straight or as bent on the ground as you like. Notice if your right knee is lifting. See if you can keep it straight out from the hip. I hope that makes sense. So just that little space between both legs. You might even kick slightly into your hand. When I kick a little bit, my foot goes further back and I get just a little added stretch even in the right shoulder, the chest. And then I'm going to sweep it back through to bring the knee in front of me, in front of my chest. And I'm going to see how it feels to let that leg land then on the floor in front of my body. You might have to kind of turn and rotate your hips a little more. You might reposition the left leg or even bend it, just kind of seeing how this feels. I hope in some ways it feels like nothing is happening. We're getting this little stretch across the lower back. I'm going to find kind of a cactus position of my right arm, and I'm just going to really gently rotate my torso toward the ceiling and back. So I'm introducing a really gentle twist here with movement. I'm trying to keep my legs pretty stable. So literally that twist is growing from that stable tailbone, rotating up your back. If you find a really nice place to linger, my right arm is not anywhere near the ground. My right shoulder is not anywhere near the ground, but I'm just holding this kind of open twist then for a few breaths. You can reposition what your right arm is doing. And then when you're ready, let's roll back, and you could take a break by either rolling onto your back or maybe the belly. I'm going to slide my right leg straight and roll to my belly. It is absolutely your choice. If you choose the belly, maybe you join me to bend both knees and take a little sway of the legs. If you're on your back, you can hug the legs in and sway, taking a little reset. If you're on the belly, you also could find little scorpion rotations if that would feel interesting to your back or your spine. And again, you can also just kind of lay and reset. Now, if you roll to the belly, you might then just continue then to roll onto your right side. It might mean you're facing away from the screen, whatever works for you. I'm going to press back up to tabletop and turn around so I can see you and you can see me. But eventually we're going to lay on our right side. And again, there might be a pillow here, getting yourself comfortable, especially on that right side, especially again, hopefully feeling like your head can be restful so you're not creating any stress at the neck. And then eventually we'll see how it feels to kind of hug the left knee toward your chest. I like having just a little bend in my right leg sometimes. And you might then start to sweep and grab more of ankle or foot to bring the foot behind you into more of a sideline quadricep stretch. And just take your time. Feels nice to find this stretch without having to be balanced sometimes. And again, notice if your left knee's kind of lifting up. See if you can keep it straight out from your hip, if that makes sense. You might kick a little bit into your hand. It can just create different sensation. Feel free to explore. But notice if that exploration is somehow a quest to make things really big. I hope you are feeling something lovely. That's really what we need. And then I'm going to sweep again, kind of the knee back toward the chest to then see how it feels to roll forward a bit on that bottom right leg to let the left leg land. And you might readjust a little bit here, kind of the angle of your hips turning toward the floor. Your right leg might go straighter or more bent. For the time being, I hope that this is fairly uneventful. It's really kind of a gentle reset and stretch across the back and hips. And if you want to try that twist option, I'm going to cactus bend my left arm and just gently rotate my upper back open and closed. We don't usually create a twist from this direction, so just kind of creating that rotation to feel almost like a really gentle wringing out of your spine. If you find a place to pause, feel free. And again, I'm nowhere to setting my whole upper back on the floor, and that doesn't have to be a destination or a goal. You're not less able to do this little option if you're not rotating all the way. And then same thing, if you want to roll around and come to your belly first for a break, feel free. We are going to come back up eventually, so taking some time on your belly if you liked that with those little gentle knee sways maybe, or little scorpion movements. In your time, if you are still on the belly or maybe on your back, if you're on your back, you could certainly come into our neck shape from the back, but I'm going to come back up through tabletop pose. We are going to come to our back, but I was hoping to offer you a revisit of your fish pose. Not at all a requirement. As we get ready to be on our back, I'm going to keep my pillow nearby for a twist variation where you might want to have something to just kind of catch and support the legs, and maybe your strap or band. So if you'd like to explore fish pose, you can again do this from the belly. I'm going to show it coming from upright. Let's have both feet planted, knees bent. Hands behind you again, potentially fingertips pointing toward the feet. And then you might have to kind of wiggle your hips a little further away from your hands, but see if you can come to the forearms. Make any little adjustments here. They're parallel, hopefully, ideally, the elbows kind of right under your shoulders. And then you might start to find that little puffer fish lifting in of your ribs. Your legs could go straight and just let them be relaxed. And again, some of you might enjoy the head falling back here. That's just something I tend to get dizzy. It just doesn't feel right in my body. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's whatever feels best. But if not the head back, think about your neck. I tend to make a little bit of a double chin, lifting up that ribs toward the ceiling, this heart opening back bend. And then to come to the ground, I'm going to rebend my knees, kind of let my spine go neutral. And I'm just going to try to shimmy my elbows out of the way so I can peel my body the rest of the way down. And once you're on your back, let your head feel heavy. So even just after that fish pose variation, I love that sensation. Now my head has support again. You might let your legs gently sway. Take a few moments here to reconnect with the ground. Is it movement? Is it stillness? Is it a stretch? Is it a shape? And we'll start by giving a little bit more love to each hamstring, maybe using your strap, and then we'll rinse out everything with a twist. So I'm just going to move my pillow so you can hopefully see what I'm doing. But if you have your strap, we'll start with the right leg. We often start with the right leg. We'll bring the right knee in toward the chest. If you're using a strap, you do have to kind of crunch up your upper body and put that strap around the ball mound of the foot. I know you've heard me say, try not to pull on the strap right away. There's so many ways to explore the hamstring stretch. For me, a lot of the times it's trying to straighten my leg. I just like having the strap almost be an extension of my arms so my arms can be relaxed. You can be supporting the leg, ideally maybe above and below the knee if you don't have a strap. You might enjoy taking the right leg out straight here. Your hips might enjoy kind of angling that left foot to the left or opening to the right. It's your right leg that's up. You might cross it over to the left. You might just enjoy a hamstring stretch. Take the time that you need to just find something that your body is saying yes. Your right or your left leg, sorry if I'm mixing things up, your left leg does not have to be on the ground. Your left knee can stay bent. Take a few more breaths wherever you found a space. Again, hopefully it wasn't a quest that somehow you had to win or dominate a stretch. We just found some length. To rewind, I would encourage you to rebend your left leg if it did go straight. I'm going to soften my right knee to take the strap away. Let the feet land. Sometimes after that, I try to not move. It's really hard. I tend to be a fidgeter. But when the feet land, it's just that moment where you can notice you're not distracting your body with movement and just to feel where the blood is flowing in your body, where your breath is. Then feel free to take a little wiggle or a reset. Knowing, especially when we come right away to the second side, when we go to the left leg, left knee in, maybe strap comes around the foot with that little crunch up, you might really distinctly notice differences then. Sometimes we have this kind of gap and do other things in between, but we're right away, right leg, then left leg. So try not to feel like this is a mimicking. Take your time to explore. Maybe again, the right leg goes straight. Try not to rush into wherever you think you have to get to. Let the left leg communicate to you. And again, using your strap kind of just as an extension of your arms rather than a pulling device. Take a few more breaths. Sometimes it's just a sway. Sometimes it's a hold. Whatever's feeling right. And then again, to rewind, I would encourage you, if the right leg went straight, to actually rebend it first. It's a little more stable as we come out from the left leg stretch. Take the strap away, let the foot land. Maybe you try that experiment again of not moving. Let the feet land. Let your belly soften. Just kind of feel a little melty here as you pause. Give yourself a little moment to reset. And then taking one more opportunity, this could be again a combination of hips and back as we take a twist. I'm going to offer twisted root, kind of from an eagle leg position. I'm going to reposition myself. The offer is to take a twist, whether you do so from the particular leg position or not. I'm going to put my pillow next to my left hip. There's a lot of ways we can come into this. We're going to try this way today if you want to. I'm going to take both legs up. Then I'm going to separate them slightly front to back to cross my right leg over my left leg. I'm going to keep them straight for just a moment and then let both knees bend. Help the legs readjust as you'd like here. So kind of finding laying on your back, cross-legged pose. Stay here for a few breaths. It can be really a nice stretch again for the outer hips, even the knees. And then maybe you take a twist from this position. The surrender is going to be to the left. So legs surrender over to the left, laying on your left side. I'm catching my legs with my pillow. If this feels like more drama or stress, that can happen sometimes depending on the tension in your body. I encourage you to take a twist to the left, but you can uncross the legs. Maybe you can tell your body is not feeling the twist. That's absolutely okay too. Don't let me force you into taking a rotation of your spine if it's not in service of what you can tell your body is needing. Take a few more breaths where everything gets a little softer. Whatever that means for you. Maybe it's even your kneecaps, your ankles, your toes. And then when I come out of, if you're in twisted root, I typically push through my arms and I actually uncross my legs as I roll back. That usually feels a little better to my body to take that cross away. Coming back to be in the center with whatever you need. Maybe it's a little hug of the knees, maybe against the feet landing. Maybe it's a full body stretch, just anything that helps you find a little moment where the spine literally is recalibrating. Right? Letting ourselves go back to neutral, and then we can check in with that other side. So if you want to come in the same way, I'm going to take both legs up. My pillow is going to move next to my right hip. I'm going to cross my left leg over my right. So my left leg is almost a little closer. Right foot goes a little further away, crossing, and then bending the knees and making little adjustments. I tend to have to still kind of help the legs adjust. Let that shape take hold. Kind of letting, again, the lower body soften into, and maybe then this is where your twist will grow from. Taking twisted roots, surrendering over to the right. Maybe again, sometimes I can tell as I start the twist, I can tell it's not going to feel good to be cross-legged, so uncross if that feels better. Or maybe your back is saying, I don't really feel like I need a twist. I'm going to stay cross-legged in the center. Again, just noticing the inner dialogue. Our bodies are so good at telling us. That's my favorite part of all of this, is being able to listen and then being able to listen off of the mat as well. Take a few more breaths again where something gets a little softer, whatever that might mean for you. Maybe it's your face, your jaw. And then again, to come back, a little press of your arms. I like to uncross the legs as I roll back if you were in twisted root. And as you come back to be here on your back, as we come to wrap up your physical practice, what might that mean for you? What else could you use from a movement, a pose, a shift that's kind of progressing you from this moment toward your Shavasana? Knowing again that Shavasana, it's a name, but it's not a defined pose. I find it to be truly an invitation, an offer to find some space. It's not emptiness. I like to think about it as being almost limitless. Letting go of just anything, any prescribed way of being, any shoulds, even about Shavasana. Creating space for your body to feel held, for your brain to just go, even if it drifts, if it wanders. Your time and space, your breath, where all that we did physically gets to really land. And maybe things you didn't even know have stirred for you emotionally, mentally, they get to land as well. I will go off camera ever so briefly, and I will bring you back after a few more quiet moments. inviting you to bring a bit more awareness back to this moment right here, which in some ways can be really profound. Putting aside any urgency if the sound of my voice creates that stir in your body as though something needs to happen. It doesn't. And also that opportunity to notice, to observe again yourself here in this moment, having taken this time for practice. Staying, lingering, no expectation at all that anything changes, and take that opportunity if it works for you. We have the time. If you want to move, shift, explore, encouraging you to keep your eyes closed if that feels okay. Know that I'm here seated, eyes closed. You are more than welcome to join me upright if that feels in service of your body, your next steps in your day. Maybe it's just the imagery of a little longer spine. Maybe you feel that physically. Maybe a little bit of lengthening of your neck, a softening again of your forehead, your jaw, maybe remembering that little pressure point we did at the start of practice. If you're upright in particular, I'm going to take a breath and actually reach the arms up, stretch up, press the palms together, pausing as the arms come down to press your thumb knuckles right in that third eye space, just acknowledging intellectually that you made the time and space for practice. And then maybe bringing your palms so your thumb knuckles can rest over your heart, and just sharing a little love with yourself for making time. I extend love and gratitude to all of you. Thank you so much for including me in your day and your week. Wishing you all so much peace and ease, love and light. And as always with this practice, the best night's sleep. And I bow in gratitude and honor the love and light in each and every one of you. Namaste. Thank you so much, Mercedes. So good to have you. Aubrey, thanks for being on.